gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special. Bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
Well, good Monday morning, Bakersfield and surrounding communities, and everybody watching online on YouTube. This is the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. The guy vibing over there right now is Sparky. Sparky!
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, my friend. Plenty of sports to talk about, but let them know what they're in for today.
Oh, we'll talk about the Masters.
Of course.
The beautiful ending of the Masters. The NBA playoffs are all set going into the play-in. We'll talk college football. We've got some other football news. We also got some UFC results to talk about. It is WrestleMania week.
Thank God.
And,
Well, it's also Easter week, so I guess for you Catholics out there, thank God.
Yes, and I took the bullet. I watched Minecraft.
Did you really?
I did.
All right, well, we'll get an assessment from Sparky because I don't want to touch this movie with a 10-foot pole, and I am a massive Jack Black and Jason Momoa fan. So.
And on top of that, we've got mac and cheese tickets
Fantastic.
to give away all week. Plus, we got a jam-packed week. After today, we'll have our boy KG like usual. We've got some new barbecue place opening up in town. We've got all sorts of stuff. We've got our comedian buddy Tyson Hayes joining us Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday.
And then we'll wrap up the week talking WrestleMania with 24 kg. We've got this jam-packed week. We've got mac and cheese tickets to give away. Let's kick this off with some Masters.
Absolutely, my friend. As we said on Friday with our boy Bolt Brady, it seemed to be that Rory McIlroy was well out of it after round one. Well, Rory came back on Friday and Saturday and made us all look stupid, shooting back-to-back 66s to take the lead and ran away with it. Now, it took him a playoff to win the whole thing against Justin Rose. Bryson DeChambeau was also in the mix until the last round. I'll explain what I think happened to him here in a second. But Rory McIlroy finally winning his Masters green jacket, solidifying himself as a Grand Slam champion of golf, one of six. Those six men obviously being Tiger back in 2000, Gene Sarazen, Ben Hogan, Gary Player, and the great Jack Nicklaus.
Now, Papa Nicklaus.
Papa Nicklaus. Now, no relation, right? No relation with Mr. Steven Nicklaus.
Mini marriages. But
mini
yes.
marriages. Really?
Yes, actually. My grandpa sat me down and talked to me about that when I was little. I've never met the guy. He's obviously a big boy with big britches and big money. But yeah, he's second cousin to my grandpa or something like that.
That's incredible. See, we got some golf blood in here. We got some royalty in the house, people. Listen to the Early Bird Special. We got Sparky over here related to the great Jack Nicklaus long down the line, but it is what it is. This has been a great Masters season, though. Number 89. If you've been keeping count, next year will be 90. This has been probably the most exciting Masters ending I've seen in quite some time. Rory almost just absolutely threw it away. He had a double bogey to begin the fourth round. He had a double bogey, I believe, on the 13th when he hit one into the water. Honestly, I thought he had absolutely done himself in after that.
Yeah, I thought it was over.
But and talking to our friend of the show, Ali Saldana, who is not a fan of Rory McIlroy whatsoever.
Good girl.
He hit this incredible shot on the par 5 on the back 9 that lined him up perfectly with what should have been an eagle. He missed the putt and had a double putt or two putt it in for a birdie. It was a fantastic shot that really solidified him, at least the tie with Justin. Justin had a long putt on 18 to give himself 11 under to put him in the race. But ultimately, all it took was one hole in playoff for Rory to pull it off absolutely beautifully. And he is also the first champion to ever win the Masters with 4 double bogeys on the weekend. He had 2 yesterday. He had 2 in round 1. So you got to think of the masterful, effort that he put in on Friday and Saturday to even put him in the lead at this point in order to win his jacket and finally solidify himself as one of the golf greats. Not that he wasn't going to be at the end of his career anyway.
Yuck.
Again, I don't necessarily hate the guy. I don't like the guy. I have no horse in the race. I'm happy to see a good story finally come to an end.
It is an awesome story. It is a great story. And that was the one person I didn't want to win. So I guess I'm the bad luck. I should watch golf more. But thanks to you, Burdick, and thanks to our boy Bolt Brady, because I did probably spend 3 or 4 hours this weekend watching live golf. And yes, it is hard to say.
Now, don't get me wrong.
I'm
a casual. I won't lie to you. I am a cash. I'm not a diehard golfer. I'm not going to sit here and know a whole bunch of statistics for you from back in the 1970s. I really don't know far back golf. And at this point, it's not that big of a deal. We're all just living in the moment. And it was a great Masters for the 89th Masters.
That's the best part, is it was a great ending.
And I got to tell you this story, though, before we move on to the rest of the field that you should really know about and pay attention to. Speaking of Bolt Brady, our boy, our handicapper that comes on the show on Fridays. Give me 1 second. I apologize.
No, he did a hell of a job.
Remember, we asked him this question. Is there any chance at all that Rory comes back and makes a run out of this? He said no. He said no way in hell. It's not going to happen. He's too far away. It went so far as beyond Bolt Brady. Nick Ragone on the Ralph Bailey Show on Current Radio, for those of you who listen over there as well, from 3 to 6. Nick is a fantastic golf mind. He is the one that is the aficionado that if you want to know some crazy statistics, listen to Nick Ragone talk golf. He is fantastic. He's also a Champions Tour director, if I'm not mistaken. He has his own tour out there. Or not tour, I'm sorry, his own, what do they call these? Invitationals, thank you, out there that is connected to the PGA. He even said there's no way. Like, he was so far out that there just was no way Rory was going to be able to make a run at this. Obviously, like we said, he came back and made us all look stupid. Bolt Brady actually sent me an email on Friday, okay? And I got to look this up so I can read it to you, Sparky, because it is fantastic. He absolutely double backs on the entire thing after watching round 2. Bolt had sent me this Friday night. Let's see. I can't believe I'm saying this. Some of you may have heard me on the ESPN radio today. The DJ asked me if I thought Rory had a chance, and I said that 18 out of the last 19 winners were only 4 shots off the lead after round 1, which is 100% true.
Yeah.
Rich was not even close for Rory. He was 7. Okay. He was 7 strokes behind. After watching that round 2, Bolt had turned around and bet the entire house on Rory McIlroy to win the whole thing. That's how.
So he cashed out.
Yes. That's how confident that Rory had changed everybody's mindsets, including his own. Because really, when you look at what happened into round 1 with all this pressure going on him, can he win this Masters? Because after this year, it's going to get even harder for the 35-year-old. It does not get easier to win these tournaments as you get older. It really doesn't. Experience doesn't help you at the Masters. It's really all about how well you could play during that portion. Justin Rose is probably the only one that consistently is in the running damn near every time he's on the course.
As you brought up Justin Rose, let's hear from him as he was talking about how he came back and was forcing that playoff.
Something happened for sure around the middle of the round. I just kind of went into the place that you dream about going to. You know, I felt so good with my game, felt so good with my mind. I began to sense that I was playing my way into the tournament. I was laser focused out there. Really didn't look at the leaderboard all day until the 18th green, and realized that putt. I could hear from the crowd on 17 that I was right in the mix. I figured Rory was behind me. There was, I needed to make that putt to kind of give myself some hope. It's the kind of putt you dream about as a kid, and to have it and hold it, it was a special feeling. And unfortunately, the playoff, they always end so quickly. You know, that's sudden death. You don't really get an opportunity if you're not the guy to hit the great shot or hold a great putt. You know, it's over. So I felt like that's the nature of sudden death, but not really anything I could have done more today.
What I loved about the ending of this Masters, though, was that the 2 people that were going to win were arguably 2 unlikely ones. I know going into it, obviously Rory was the second favorite to win the whole dang thing. But going out of round 1, he was so far out of it that it was so unlikely for this to happen. It just shocked the world again. And Justin Rose, obviously leading after round 1. It very, very rarely is the leader after round 1 who wins the whole tournament, which we talked about on Friday as well. For those 2 men to be the final 2 in this running and have to go to a playoff to win just made the story even better, in my opinion.
Do you like the actual playoffs?
Though how the playoff works,
How the playoff
yes.
is set, the
I like
format?
the sudden death version of golf. Yeah, because it's simple. Who can beat the other at 1, 2, 3 holes of golf? You don't need to
Yeah.
go back to the whole back 9
And
and
see, that's
redo
what
the
the
whole
announcers.
thing.
That's why I ask you, because this was the first time I've ever seen a playoff
Mhm.
format, and the announcer was like, I wish they would just go back to the front 9, and I was like, man, that's another hour,
See,
hour
but
and a half.
well,
To
I
sit there
see
and
if you
watch.
want to start at the front 9, I
Yeah.
totally get that instead of going to the 18 and going backwards.
Mhm.
I just feel like the 18 is the best one to start with because obviously that's the last hole both the golfers have played and you're most familiar with. So there's no excuse for not doing well on that hole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. It's more simple that way. I think golf really works best that way. And your sudden deaths don't go all the way to the front 18. You know what I mean?
And
Or the
before
front 9 of the 18.
you run down the standings and how everything went and who's the upcoming guys that coming in,
Mhm.
let's hear from Rory and how he felt about this win.
It's a dream come true. I've dreamt about that moment for as long as I can remember. I mentioned it out in the prize ceremony, but watching Tiger here in 1997 do what he did and winning his first green jacket, I think that inspired so many of my generation to want to emulate what he did. And there were points in my career where I didn't know if I would have this nice garment over my shoulders, but I didn't make it easy today. I certainly didn't make it easy. I was nervous. It was one of the toughest days I've ever had on the golf course. In a funny way, I feel like the double bogey at the first sort of settled my nerves. And it's funny, walking to the second tee, the first thing that popped into my head was John Rahm a couple of years ago making double and going on to win. So, at least my mind was in the right place and was at least thinking positively about it.
I mean, he had a great mindset about the entire thing. I think after round 1, when the nerves kind of settled, you saw what Rory is capable of. I don't think Rory plays well under pressure. And I think you saw it in round 1, and I think you saw it at the end of round 4 because he almost spit the bit. He almost threw this away.
Yeah, he almost shot himself in the
He
foot.
really did. There were multiple putts that were makeable, multiple shots that were makeable that he absolutely botched them. He was able to recover, obviously, but he shouldn't have gone to a playoff. He should have won this at least at 14 under.
Yeah, he definitely could have. And going through and starting rough kind of helped. It benefited him.
Yes,
in
because
this
obviously all
Masters,
that pressure was thrown out when you're at the bottom of the barrel, and now no one has expectations for you. So he was able to turn that around. So I think that was a great situation. But on the opposite side of this, his partner of the day, Bryson DeChambeau, who was in second place going into round 4, absolutely just fell apart in round 4. He had a really, really bad shot on 11 that ended up being, I think, a double bogey. He shot one into the water. He ends up tied for 5th at the end of the day. Apparently, he didn't say a word to Rory all day, but it wasn't necessarily him. It was Rory. Rory did not say a word to him
That's what I
all
heard.
day, which you could chalk that up to Bryson being a young gun. You could chalk that up to Bryson being a live golfer, like whatever you want to really say. I think Rory was just locked in and really focused on locking this out and finally getting that jacket.
When it's day 4, I've heard stories from other golfers that have paired up with Tiger and said, they golfed all day with each other and maybe heard 1 or 2 words.
I think what really shot Bryson in the foot, though, is the fact that he plays for Live Golf. And here's why. Live only plays 3 rounds on their courses. They don't play a 4th.
That makes sense.
That 4th round at the Masters, obviously being the most pivotal, he started out actually pretty good until he bogeyed 2 holes in a row in the front 9, and then he just never came back. He played par golf throughout the rest, had the double bogey, and then he was essentially just a washout from there. Everybody else was catching up. Your Obergs were catching up. Your Roses obviously caught up. But, I mean, Oberg fell off at the end as well with a bogey and a double bogey on 17 and 18. But at the end of the day, I think that the Live golfers did not benefit from having to play an extra round of golf because obviously strenuously on your body and other factors in terms of fatigue do catch in and or do work in golf just as much as they do in every other sport. And I think when you don't have the experience, or at least your body's not used to playing 4 rounds during these tournaments, it's going to bite you in the butt. And I think that's exactly what happened to Bryson at the end of this. Other guys that we were looking at throughout the entire tournament, Patrick Reed actually had a really cool ending to this tournament, ending in third. He had I believe it was an eagle on 12. And absolutely just shocked everybody. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was on 17. It was on 17 when he bounced it in and pretty much just went straight in. You couldn't have shot it any better. He didn't even know it went in. And that's what propelled him up into the top leaderboards. Unfortunately, not enough to catch up to the other two. Scotty Scheffler ends up, I believe, just short of the top 5, but he still ended out really, really well as well. And obviously was the one who gave Rory his jacket, being the winner from last year. He will be back in most likely in the running again next year to be the winner of Masters year 90. And then just to go down a couple things, Rory's major wins now since he is a Grand Slam champion. This was 11 years in the making, mind you. He hasn't won a major in 11 years. So that's why everyone was really starting to doubt if he could win this entire thing. But let's hear from Andy North real quick, who believes Rory's not done winning these majors.
I think there's a really great chance that he wins multiple more major championships and maybe another time here. I think it's going to free him up. He doesn't have any demons to deal with. Just go out and play golf. And we've talked for years. When he's at his best, he's as good as anybody we've seen.
And I'm sorry, Scotty actually ended 4th at 8 under. I apologize. I lost my notes on Scotty, which is why if you're watching the YouTube screen right now, you were looking just as confused as I at the computer.
That's what I had winning it, so I was happy you got in top 5. I made my money back, so
did you? Okay,
I just
fantastic.
broke even.
And our listener as well, who chimed in and had Scotty as well as Patrick Reed and Bubba Watson, you did very well as well because Bubba had a solid outing. Realistically, looking at it though, I think you got the same favorites for next year's Masters. Rory most likely will look to win more majors before his career is over. Just to run down the ones that he has won already though, because he's gotten a handful now. We've got...
And he's what, 35 years old?
He is 35 years old, turning 36. And he has won the U.S. Open in 2011, the Open Championship in 2014, as well as the PGA Championship in 2014. That was a couple months apart from each other. And he also won the PGA Championship back in 2012 as well. So he has a lot of wins at these various locations and has also won Pebble this year. So he's probably in for a pretty solid year this year in the world of golf.
Lucky him.
I'm sorry, Allie, just for future reference.
Just,
it's not because I want it, but it is just what it is, and that's how golf works. But that's your Masters rundown for the day. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. Again, I'm a golf cash, but the Masters, there's something about it. It's the Super Bowl of golf to me, even though it starts their season instead of ends it. It should be the other way around, in my opinion.
Well, the NBA season is over. The regular season is done.
Yes.
We'll get into the what the tournament looks like, starting with the play-in right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. And welcome back to the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick, that's Sparky.
Did you watch any basketball this weekend?
I watched a little bit, but once I really realized that it's all just going to be preseason teams, essentially, I did turn it off quickly. I did watch a little bit of the Cavaliers-Pacers game yesterday, and when we were up by like 27, I turned it off, and then apparently we had lost the game. The Pacers came back and won, which it is what it is. No one really paid attention to that one anyway. So
Well, I watched the Clippers
did you end up watching
Warriors
the Clippers
game. I
Warriors
watched the last 8 minutes,
Which
and then
that
it went
one
into
saw
overtime.
the Warriors played exactly the way you would expect them to play in the playoffs. So hopefully that is the matchup you'll see. But the Warriors now have slid all the way to the 7 seed, which means they'll be in the play-in tournament against the Grizzlies first, and then the Kings will take on the Mavericks. Obviously, the Warriors want to win this. However, if they do lose and end up having to take on the Thunder in round 1, that could be a pretty messy matchup for the Thunder.
Well, I bring that up because now the Clippers go to 5, and Evan Cohen had this to say, because that loss, I mean, yes, on paper, it doesn't look like it was much, but that loss swapped them, and now the Warriors have to play in the play-in.
The Rockets have an unbelievable head coach who's been there and done that and who actually went up against the Warriors in the NBA Finals. Oh, by the way, for the Boston Celtics a few years back, obviously different team, but the Warriors are older, they're banged up, the Rockets are deep, and they're young. If the Warriors are even fortunate enough to beat the Grizzlies, I don't think that's a cakewalk against the Rockets because of Ime Udoka first. I'm just saying, I don't think yesterday in any way, shape, or form benefits the Golden State Warriors like a lot of people think it does.
And like you just said, you know, if they end up having to line up with OKC, now you're talking about a young team that's a little rested and a Warriors team that is a bit older. But does that bring up, you know, that go back to the buckets trade?
At this point, yeah, because you needed that uplift in the playoffs, and that's what Jimmy brings you. Jimmy in the playoffs is a completely different animal, and I think that is what separates the Warriors and will continue to separate the Warriors in the playoffs. But that's why I'm saying I know he brings up Ime Udoka, who's a fantastic head coach and now the head coach of Houston. And Houston has an onslaught of young talent. But again, as I've been saying with a lot of these other teams, especially the Thunder are well above the Houston Rockets because they've been in these situations and they've been in the playoffs and have at least won a playoff series. I don't see that being the case for Houston, though. As much as I love Udoka as a coach, let's not forget who he had on that Boston Celtics team when he went up against the Warriors in the finals. You had Jason Tatum, you had Jaylen Brown, whole different team. Now, granted, still young stars, so you could see it, but are you really going to sit there and tell me that they have anybody on that roster that's the level of a Jason Tatum-esque player? I say no.
Oh, no.
I say no.
Not even close.
So it's a bad matchup for the Rockets, and it's a bad matchup for the Thunder. It's a worse matchup for the Rockets, in my opinion, if you have to deal with the Warriors. But the only thing that is giving them an edge is that extra game. I do agree that the Warriors are on the aging side of basketball, and unfortunately, that doesn't bode well when you have to play extra minutes.
So with OKC and Houston waiting for their matchup, the number 3 is now the Lakers, and they'll take on the number 6 Timberwolves.
I like this matchup.
It is a good matchup.
I love this matchup.
I wanted the Lakers and Warriors, but the Lakers and Timberwolves is going to be a hell of a series.
Honest with you, this is the only one, Sparky, that I didn't put a prediction down. I don't know. I have no clue which way this series is going to go. You got Anthony Edwards, who's playing out of his mind this season and absolutely shooting almost 40% from 3.
I think the Lakers will pull it out, but it'll be a long series. And I go with number 4 Nuggets and the number 5 Clippers, like we just talked about. But now the play-in starts up tomorrow.
Right.
And that's with the Grizzlies at Golden State.
Right. And then we got the Kings at the Mavericks as well.
Yes, the Mavericks at the Kings.
Should we start with the play-in tournament then before we get into the actual matchups? Because full disclosure, we're not going to give you guys our thoughts on these first and second seed matchups just yet until we know who makes it out of the play-in tournament first.
So, I mean, if we want to start with the West, starting tomorrow, Grizzlies at the Warriors.
I have to say, looking at this matchup myself, I say the Grizzlies lose. I think the Warriors win this game and move on as the 7th seed and take on the Rockets.
I'm with you.
So
I think the Warriors,
And
just
that'll
because
leave,
that depth that they have now, I
right.
think.
Well, and then as we've been saying all last week, the Grizzlies are one of those teams right now in the West that are really just a big question mark because we don't know what's going on with them. They fired their head coach. Their star has been in the limelight, but for the wrong reasons. So really, are all of these distractions going to help Memphis going forward? I say
And I
no.
think the loss with the Clippers, with the Warriors, I think the Warriors come out with the chip on their shoulder, and I think they come out and play well. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised
Now,
if it's a close one.
and again, the Grizzlies have a losing record against teams with winning records. Just throwing that out there as well. And then the other
Throw out
matchup,
that Dolphin stat.
oh, well, the other matchup would be the Kings and the Mavericks. Personally, I don't see the Mavericks making it out of this. I like the Kings. They're streaky, but DeRozan and Levine, when they get hot, they get hot.
It's the Sacramento Bulls.
And it's really hard to keep up with that. And as far as I could tell, Anthony Davis hasn't been able to lead this Mavericks team by himself yet. And without Kyrie Irving, it's really hard to say the Mavericks make it out of this.
Well, I think that's just Anthony Davis's story. I think he's a hit and miss type player. He goes on streaks. And I think the way the Kings have been playing the last month of basketball, I think the Kings pull it out, and I think they pull it out nicely.
Oh, yeah. I could agree with that. I don't know if they run away with that one.
I think double digits.
You think double digits on that? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and that would obviously lead up to the Memphis Grizzlies taking on the Sacramento Kings for the 8th seed. As much as I'd hate to put them there, I have to give it to the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yep.
They have a very good record against teams that are under 500. The only thing that's holding me up is that they've lost a lot of these games against the Kings during the regular season.
I go with the Kings in that one.
Most of the games that the Memphis Grizzlies and Kings played each other in regular season, Ja didn't play. That's a big factor. So I have to go with the Memphis Grizzlies. I think that they edge out the Kings, and unfortunately,
I think that'll be a hell of a matchup. I think the Kings and Grizzlies would be a good matchup, but I would have to go with the Kings.
I mean, again, that would set up whomever. We'll see how these work, and then we'll give you our number 1 and number 2 seed playoff matchups here later on in the week. But let's get to the West side matchups here.
The East
already set. Well, hold on. Let's talk a little more about.
Oh, you're going to talk about the?
Yeah, we got to talk about the Lakers and Mavs a little. Or I'm sorry, Lakers and Timbs a little bit more. Because along with the Nuggets and Clippers, because there's plenty to talk about here besides what we've already said. And we also didn't make any predictions based on these matchups at all. However, looking at this matchup first between the Lakers and the Timberwolves, which obviously we've already said is our favorite matchup of this entire West Coast Conference, I don't know exactly who makes it out of this, only because we have to see how this Luka and LeBron thing works in the playoffs. LeBron hasn't been able to play the way he usually plays, which is good in some situations and bad in others. But what do you think that he actually is able to pick up some stuff here in the playoffs and make it work?
It's LeBron. It's playoff time. I think he definitely puts it in overdrive. I think having Luka to the side of him is going to be. I think he's smarter now. I think he's going to run with that Luka train, and I think he'll turn it up when he needs to. I think the Lakers get that in a longer series, but I think the Lakers pull it out.
LeBron is sitting and looking 290 playoff games in the mug right now in 17 seasons. I'm sorry, 18 going into this one. He has averaged 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists in the playoffs. And let's not forget who sent the Timberwolves home last year. That was the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic. The only thing that I can agree with you and say that the Lakers might edge them out in this series is because they beat them in star power. That's the only thing I could see they have over the Timberwolves is the fact that you have 2, arguably 3 with Austin Reeves on his way up on the Lakers team, whereas you only have Anthony Edwards on the opposite side for the Timberwolves. So although I could still see, I've seen Anthony pull off some crazy upsets in the playoffs.
I think he'll get a game or 2 in. I just don't think they'll have enough to get by the Lakers in the series.
There's a reason we all believe that Anthony Edwards might be Michael Jordan's illegitimate son. And it's because the way he plays in the playoffs. Jimmy Butler too. I still subscribe to that one. Jimmy Butler being Mike's illegitimate kid makes some sense to me for some reason. I'm not sure.
It still breaks my heart to see him not in Chicago. So.
Yeah, well, and then the other side be the Nuggets and the Clippers. I like this matchup as well. However, I'm taking Clippers in 6, and I'll tell you why. The Clippers are silently the hottest team coming into the playoffs. They've won 8 games in a row. including beating the Warriors, as Sparky said yesterday, sending the Warriors into the play-in series and locking them into this series. And the Denver Nuggets are in the exact same situation, in my opinion, as the Memphis Grizzlies, imploding. Jokic can sit there and say this is a different team all he wants. Jamal Murray came back yesterday and played as well. He had a solid game, not a great game, but they're going to need a huge series out of him because he averages 24 points and 6 assists for them. And again, another guy, much like Anthony Edwards, who shoots 45% from the floor and 40% from three, which is huge. But I don't see the Nuggets being stable enough and consistent enough, although they've won 3 games in a row now, to beat this Clippers team who are red hot. The only thing that's holding me back from this is, does James Harden show up? Kawhi Leonard's healthy, and when Kawhi Leonard's healthy in the playoffs, he averages just about 30 points a game.
I know everyone knows about Harden in the playoffs.
He has his moments of showing up, and then he has his moments of just falling straight off the hill.
And that's when it's going to come to consistency. Which team is going to show up? I think Leonard, how the way he's playing right now, he's playing hot, and there is not a lot of players that can defend that type of guy. And I think I go with you with the Clippers. It might be 6. I'm thinking 5, but it'll be a good series.
You think they wipe them out in 5?
I just don't have any faith in Denver right now.
Fair. I mean, again, Denver, it's much like the Memphis Grizzlies to me. Just when you fire your head coach with 4 games left in the regular season, massive question mark above my head. I don't know about you, but
it's the same thing. And I know with basketball, it's a whole different season once the playoffs start. So you'll start seeing the urgency in players. And I think, you're going with a team like Denver that everything is falling apart towards the end of the season. And now the opposite with the Clippers, they're playing hot. All the guys are getting back into full form. And I think the Clippers is just getting hot at the right time.
Look at us walking it back on the Clippers. 2 weeks ago, we were giving Morris so much grief because we said we picked him over the Clippers over the Warriors at that point. And look at this right now. 8 games. That's incredible. But
hopefully we're right. We just don't look like dumbasses here in a week or 2.
We're gonna look like dummies all the time. We're doofuses. Again, that's why I start this show by saying we are 2 doofuses that love to talk sports.
Yes.
We have our reasons and whatnot, and we are right a lot of the time with our predictions. However, we're still doofuses. We have no experience in the NBA realm. We've never been in the front offices, so I can't tell you exactly how this works. But
look at us.
Look at us.
Look at us. Look at us. Huh? Who would have thought? Not me.
Look at us. 2 doofuses with a radio show.
But we're agreeing on things on the West. But we're going to take a break real quick, and I guarantee you we won't be on the same page on the East.
Oh, no. Absolutely not.
This is the Early Bird Special. We are live streaming on the Early Bird Special on our YouTube page. Find us on Instagram, Facebook. It's the Early Bird Special Official right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. You can't play this, man. You have me not sit here and listen the entire time.
Well, let's wobble up.
Oh my god! All right. This is the early bird special. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. And unfortunately, we do have to squabble up. I'm a Cavaliers fan, and he's a Bulls fan, and we are on opposite ends because I do believe first round will be the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Chicago Bulls facing off as the 1-8s, but we will get to that in a second. Let's start with the play-in tournament, though, my friend, on the East Coast.
We'll start with tomorrow night's game with the number 8 Atlanta Hawks going to Orlando to play the Magic.
I like the Magic in this matchup. Magic have been defensive-minded and disciplined for a couple years now. Paolo has silently been a superstar for them down there in Orlando. Now, do they have the star power to make a run in the playoffs? I don't believe so, but they could shock some people and turn some heads as they've done the last couple of years. I think they beat the Hawks, who honestly have kind of been dwindling the last couple of years with Trae Young.
I have this one as a flip of a coin.
Really?
I mean, I don't think either team is going to go far, but I really don't. They almost feel like the same team to me. When I was looking at the papers and looking at the stats, I mean, the Hawks are kind of going downhill, like you were saying, and Orlando is that defensive-minded coach, but I just don't see either one of them getting by either the Cavs or Celtics.
Oh, no. Yeah, no.
And I just think it's more of a...
Full disclosure, anybody that makes it out of the Eastern Conference play-in tournament is getting either swept or losing in 5 to both the Celtics and the Cavaliers.
Watch out.
It's just, I'm sorry. It's the way you look at these teams. As much as I hate to admit, the Miami Heat are 37 and 44. What was their final? They weren't even close to a 500 team.
No.
And that's my point, is that you look at the East. I mean, the Magic are 500 at 41 and 41. Hawks are 40 and 42. Bulls are 39 and 43. And then the Heat are 37 and 45.
We almost got there.
Almost got there. You had a couple wins against the Lakers late, too. That would have put you over the top.
Big ones.
I just, these teams in the play-in tournament for the Eastern side of all of this, just don't expect them to make a huge leap in the playoffs is all I'm saying.
Well, I will say the Wednesday night game between the Miami Heat and Chicago Bulls, and I swear I feel like I bumped my head and I'm going back in the past because it always seems the Bulls and Heat. Man, I was on my honeymoon 14 years ago, and I was sitting in Florida wearing all Bulls gear.
Yep.
Sitting on the Miami beach watching the Bulls and Heat in the playoffs. And it's like every other year we play the damn Heat. And just last week we were playing the Heat. So I just really hope that the bucket list Miami Heat is going to be a better matchup this year. I think Chicago is getting hot at the right time for a play-in type game.
I agree.
I think if they would have turned it up a month or two ago, then we wouldn't be sitting in the play-in and we wouldn't have to be looking up at, either Cleveland or Boston. But I think you're right. I think the series, I think they get by Miami. I think it'll be a hell of a game. But I think being at home in Chicago and the way that Miami has been kind of hot and cold, I think Chicago gets by Miami. And yes, I think if they end up playing Cleveland, I believe they will pull a game or two out. I don't think they get swept.
Okay.
That's all I want.
I give you 5.
I don't want to sit and...
I give you 5.
I don't think it goes 4
I give
and
you
over.
5. Usually in the NBA today, it's very rare when you get a sweep because a lot of these teams like to win at home, so they just give away a game.
The Cavs are hot.
They are hot. But again, we'll get to that in a second. I don't have to chime in on any of that because that's exactly the way I feel about this matchup. It has now been 3 straight seasons where the Miami Heat and the Chicago Bulls have gone up against each other in a play-in tournament knockout game. The Miami Heat have won the last 2. But remember, the Miami Heat had Jimmy Butler at those times. Now they do not. And both of these teams, in my opinion, are 2 teams with solid players who are desperately missing a star.
Yep.
That's it. That's all they need is some big name to come down there and really put them back in the talking side of the Eastern Conference.
Come on, Stan. You're listening to him?
I'm just saying,
just come on, man.
All you need is a star for Chicago to be relevant again. Who that is, I don't know. Maybe Kevin Durant. Maybe you can convince him to come play in Chicago for a year. Who knows?
That'd be difficult.
Kawhi Leonard did it for Toronto. Maybe Kevin will come do it for you. But at this point, I do agree. I think Chicago wins out and knocks out the Heat this year and gets revenge on the Heat for the last 2 seasons. And I do take you guys to beat the Hawks if you guys do match up against the Hawks in the final play-in tournament game to lock in that 8 seed. The season series between the Hawks and the Bulls is even at 2. Now, the only thing that really holds me off is in those 4 games, the Hawks averaged about 120, 130 points on you. Like, it was pretty ugly. The lowest score was 110.
Since we've started the show, I've been looking at the NBA scores, when I come in, and dude, it is just hilarious to see these games go 150, 155,
really
160. I'm like,
and that's
what?
why you're going to get, honestly, I think that is going to be the reason they lower the amount of minutes in these games. Not to really save these guys in time,
just to save the records.
Just to lower the freaking score a little bit, dude. It's starting to become an all-star game every game. The only time we ever saw 150 to 150 was at an all-star game or a Globetrotters game.
Well, hopefully you're right. The Bulls get by and they end up playing Atlanta. The final one would be on Friday, so we'll have plenty to talk about. But moving over to the other matchups, as we said, number 1 would be Cleveland, number 2 is Boston, and number 3 is the Knicks and the Detroit Pistons.
I was watching the pregame to one of the games yesterday, and Kendrick Perkins made a very good point. This Pistons team is really starting to feel to me like the Knicks team from a couple years ago that was really gritty and young and would just beat you into the ground.
That's that Thibodeau.
But that's my point, is that they're doing it without the Thibodeau problem.
Yes.
Which is the minutes
Injuries.
issue. But I don't know. What are your thoughts? Do you think the Knicks make it out of this?
I sure hope so. I've got my secret love for Coach Tibbs. The defensive minded, and I always forget the dude's name. The point guard over at the Knicks.
Brunson.
I love Brunson. I think Pistons are going to give him a game. It'll give him a series. I think the Knicks pull it out in probably 6.
Well, I'm glad you said Knicks in 6 because I'm taking Pistons in 7.
See, there we go. Squabbling up already.
Here's the thing. Remember the Tibbs problem. He plays his starting 5 entirely too much. You want to know how much? This season alone, the starting 5 for the Knicks, which was Karl Anthony Towns, Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, Bridges, and Anunoby. That's the 5 that he plays on the court more than anybody, regardless of Hart starts or not. 940 minutes total throughout this entire season.
Oh, that's why fatigue always gets him.
Second was Minnesota starting 5 at 714.
Whew.
Third was the Detroit Pistons at 491. So we see the problem here. Granted, your players get incredible minutes, and you want, like I said last week, you want your best players on the court most of the time. But fatigue is a thing. Fatigue is a major problem that you have to juggle inside of basketball specifically, especially with all these guys sitting out for multiple games.
So you're telling me New York starters have played more than double
what the
minutes
Detroit Pistons have.
Detroit Pistons have had.
And at this point, does that factor in as a positive or a negative? Because I'd say a negative.
And I could see the positive side.
And let's also not forget, head coach of the Pistons, J.B. Bickerstaff, former head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Last time he was in the playoffs, guess who he got knocked out by? Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks when the Cavs lost to the Knicks 2 years ago. I'm telling you right now.
So you got the Pacers.
I'm taking the Pacers because this is a revenge series for J.B. Bickerstaff. They're going to be younger. They're going to be sprier. Cade Cunningham is one of the only 5 players in the league to be averaging, I believe, 26, 5 and 5, which he's actually averaging 26, 5 and 9.
You meant the Pistons.
I'm sorry. Yeah. For the Pistons.
Yeah.
And I personally think the Pistons just pull this out. I think it makes sense. And honestly, it might be the end of Tom Thibodeau's tenure with the Knicks.
Yeah. We got into that last week because it's almost like a perfect fit with Malone looking for a job. But I think Tibbs gets through. I think he gets through Detroit. I think he's just going to be going uphill. And I think you're right with the minutes. I think fatigue, if it's a long series like I expect, I think the Knicks take it in 6. And that's a long series for players that are playing those types of minutes. And then moving over, we got the number 4 Pacers and the number 5 Milwaukee Bucks.
I don't know why I keep looking at Pistons and want to say Pacers. I don't know why I do that, but being a Cavaliers fan, they all blend together. They're all losers. It's okay.
Ouch.
Well, I mean, they're all in the same division. So
Well,
you're losers.
let's
Sorry
hear
about
from
that.
Doc Rivers as he's preparing to play with the against the Pacers with the Bucks.
We have Giannis. It makes it a different series. Hopefully we have Dame. We don't know that. It just seems like we can't catch a break and have them both, you know. So we'll see how that goes.
So
he's 100% right on that, though. Like, matchups wise, the Bucks are, if they could get Dame on the court at the same time, dude, oh my God.
But will they?
No.
That's
that's the problem. And honestly, that's why I think the Pacers have a really good chance in this series. I'm still taking the Bucks in 6, only because, as we said, last week, 2 weeks ago, do you have anybody that can stop Giannis? Do you think Pascal Siakam can really stop Giannis? No. And honestly, if you think Pascal's going to drop 20 on Giannis, you're crazy.
Well, we'll be talking NBA playoffs all week. We'll hopefully getting snacks up in here tomorrow. We'll preview the play-ins, but I wanted to go to this sound clip before we wrap it up. We've got Gary Washburn talking about, what's the biggest threat to Boston, not Cleveland, in the East.
I think Cleveland's number one. I think right now I'd say as a dead even series. The Celtics have played well against Cleveland, but they have not figured out what to do with Donovan Mitchell. They have had a hard time stopping him in the fourth quarter. I mean, he's a guy who's just closed out a couple of those games this season against the Celtics, and the Celtics can't guard him. They're going to have to figure out what to do with him and their two big lineup, especially Evan Mobley.
That's fine. That's cool.
I figured that would set you up
That's
perfectly.
Fine. No, sleep on the Cavs. Go ahead. Sleep on the Cavaliers. You're right. Sleep on them. Because Boston has been so good.
You've said it since the start of the show. It's going to be Cleveland and Boston.
It's all that's the matchup in the East is Cleveland and Boston. There is nobody in this entire playoff run, not the Bucks, not the Pacers. Nobody can keep up. The Knicks.
You think if Dame gets back and is on the court with Giannis, you don't think
they could, depending on who they match up with? Yeah, I think they have a better shot at taking out Cleveland than they do Boston. But yeah, but I mean,
don't going by the
happens.
paper, if you were right and Milwaukee gets by, so they would.
Yeah, they would line up with the Cavs next, wouldn't they?
Yep.
So we'll see. Honestly, that's going to be an interesting round too.
No, actually, they would be with Boston because 6 would be Detroit.
Right.
So Detroit would be Cleveland.
Well, no, I don't think you reseed. I'm pretty sure you just stay in the bracket. But again, we'll see how this all ends. It really doesn't matter. I don't think it's always been. I think it's always been that way.
No.
Again, regardless, it doesn't matter.
Either way,
Matchups,
it's got to get past New York, and I don't think the Pistons get by. But you think if Milwaukee, on paper, if they get both their stars back, you think they can get over either one, Cleveland or Boston?
I mean, if they get both of them back at the same time, Dame has a tendency to average 30 points in the playoffs when they need him to score the most. And it's a very hard tandem to get past. But I do think Boston and Cleveland have rosters that are just deep. Because Cleveland has the best starting 5 in basketball. They really do. And that's not me being a homer. If you really look at the lineups, match for match, Boston's probably second and the Thunder is third. But the only reason the Thunder are third because of how young they are. But Cleveland has the best starting 5 all around in basketball, just the skill-wise level. And it's going to be really hard to keep up with 5 guys. You know what I mean? Like, and not to mention the guys they have on the bench that come out. Ty Jerome's been playing out of his mind. Hunter's off the bench. Like, all of these guys are capable of scoring 15 points if you need them to. And lethal shooting is also a problem. So it's hard to keep up with.
Well, bring it on. I'm ready. The NBA playoffs are starting up tomorrow. We'll get more into that tomorrow, but it is Motivational Monday. So we'll get you started for the week so you can have a great, this week, not only is the mac and cheese coming up this weekend, we got WrestleMania this week. We've got Easter week. I mean, this week is going to be jam-packed. Keep it tuned in. Plus, we'll give away mac and cheese tickets all week. Just save this number, 661-842-2000. Put that in your phone because we'll be giving away some tickets in the next hour right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM.
What if we have that kind of attitude? The cause repossessed. Nobody believes in you. You lost again and again and again. The lights are cut off, but you're still looking at your dream, reviewing it every day and say to yourself, it's not over until I win.
They will not put out more content than me. Beast mode, 1, 2, 3. Beast mode, 1, 2, 3. Beast mode, 1, 2, 3. Beast mode. I beast mode my way to number 1.
The feeling of failure, the feeling of shame.
Where's your motivation?
But you're going to have some ups and you're going to have some downs.
This is amazing. I feel incredible. Yes, 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 yes. I can win. I feel great. I can do this.
I always love starting my Monday with Piccolo.
It is motivational Monday. The heat is turning up, so we don't have a lot of time, but I want to go into the NBA playoffs. We got a clip from Kobe Bryant that if that doesn't center you, no one will.
I always think that there's two types of players who love to win and players who hate to lose. Which one are you?
I'm neither. I play to figure things out. I play to learn something. If you play with the fear of failure or you play with the will to win or that supersedes the fear of failure, I think it's a weakness either way. Because if you play with the fear of failing, you'll have the pressure on yourself to play, to capitulate to that fear. If you play with the sense of I want to win, then you have the fear of what happens if you don't. But if you find common ground in the middle, in the center, then it doesn't matter. You're unfazed by either, right? That enables you to really just stay in the moment, stay connected to it, and not feel anything other than what's in front of you. So, I try to just be dead center.
Gotta love Kobe.
Yes.
Gotta love Kobe. If that doesn't get you motivated for your Monday, I don't know what will. But we'll be back on the other side of the break. We got to pay some bills. We got stories out of the NCAA and kind of the NFL, I guess. It's a little adjacent, but we'll get into that on the other side. You're listening to the Early Bird Special right here on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield, as well as streaming live on video on YouTube at the Early Bird Special. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Early Bird Special Hour 2. I'm Chris Burdick, that's Sparky, and we got some Mac and Cheese Fest tickets to give away.
Mac and cheese.
Now, today you guys are giving them for free.
Yes.
The rest of the week, you got to earn them.
Yes.
But if you and somebody you know would like to go to the Mac and Cheese Fest, just text in right now. 661-842-2000. Sparky will be fielding your text messages, and one lucky winner will be getting a pair of tickets to our Mac and Cheese Fest going on this Saturday, April 19th.
Annual, baby. 10th annual.
Can't believe it's been 10 years.
Yeah. Make you feel old, young guy?
A little bit. I've been working 7 of them. I mean, Lord. But yeah, if you want a pair of tickets to the Mac and Cheese Fest, text in right now, 661-842-2000. What do you want to text in, Sparky?
Who just did the Motivational Monday?
There you go.
I'll make it easy for you.
Who just motivated your Monday besides me and Sparky, of course?
And we did get a text in right before the break. It says, tell Burdick to take back the Pistons in 7 prediction. As a Knicks fan, I don't need that bad juju.
Whoa. First off, you're a Knicks fan. I'm sorry.
Hey.
Second off, there's
stick with your team,
4
man.
Knicks fans on the planet. You, Stephen A. Smith.
I love Tibbs. That's all I can say.
Look, man, Tibbs is a fantastic coach.
As a Bulls fan, I hate the Knicks, though.
I just don't think his style of play is going to work out long-term in the playoffs. It doesn't work.
I just don't think it works in this type of basketball that they're playing this year.
I'm still taking
or any year,
I'm
really.
still going Pistons in 7. I still want to call them the Pacers. I don't know why. Again, they're all losers.
In a scoring league, a main defending type coach.
Yep.
It doesn't work.
It
but
doesn't.
I think they get by Detroit.
Again, we'll see. That's what the beauty of the NBA playoffs is. It's anybody's game, at least in the first round. If you're in the East, though, it's still going to boil down to Cleveland and the Celtics. So I'm sorry. If you're not one of those 2 teams, sorry to tell you, you're probably not making it past the second round. But we have other stories to get to that have happened over the weekend, some tragic ones, unfortunately. We lost a NFL prospect over the weekend. Former LSU wide receiver Karen Lacey was found dead in Houston at age 24 in an apparent suicide. The former wide receiver for the Tigers led the team last year in touchdowns and was found, unfortunately, dead Saturday night in his car. Lacey was accused of causing a crash that killed a 78-year-old man in Louisiana back in December 17th, where he fled the scene without rendering aid or calling the cops. So he was under investigation for all of this. The grand jury was supposed to begin today, if I'm not mistaken. And he turned himself in on January 12th, was jailed and released on $151,000 bail. Again, I keep seeing these bails and thinking, thank God for NIL for these kids now, because,
right.
Oh my Lord. He was charged with negligent homicide, felony hit and run with a death, reckless operation of a vehicle. And again, all of that was going to start, essentially the trial was going to start today on what was going to happen with him. His lawyer had obviously said that he was confident that he wasn't necessarily going to be absolved of all of it, but a lot of the things that he was going to be hit with were going to get expunged. So he was going to get some sort of punishment, but it wasn't going to be what they thought it was going to be, which was possible jail time for the young man. Basically what happened was on December 17th, he was driving his 2023 Dodge Charger on the Louisiana highway, where he recklessly was swerving in and out of cars, caused 2 cars to swerve out of the way to nearly hit, or that almost hit him, that were coming head on. One of those cars veered off and hit the car of a Herman Hall, who again was a 78-year-old man who died, unfortunately, of injuries from the crash. Lacey did not pull over to render aid for the situation or call the police and the authorities, being the person who caused it, obviously putting him in the hit and run category of all of this. Lacey's cousin called into the authorities yesterday saying that her cousin was not well mentally and had a firearm, and that is why they believe this is a apparent suicide situation. He was found in his car, and unfortunately, he is gone from this earth.
It's horrible story.
He was predicted to be Mel Kiper's number 6 wide receiver on his draft board, although he was left off the big board because of the pending, penalties that would have been coming from this situation. But
yeah, which was weird is that he declared for the draft 2 days after the wreck.
He did.
And I mean, it's a sad story. And I hate to, go with your motivational Monday and then go into these types of stories. But another crazy story over the weekend. Former NCAA Woman of the Year, Karina Groff, died in a plane crash. She was the 2022 NCAA Woman of the Year and former MIT soccer standout. She died Saturday in a plane crash over in New York. 6 others also passed, including her parents, Dr. Michael Grove and Dr. Joy Sina, her brother Jared, his partner Alexia, and Karina's boyfriend James Santoro. The twin-engine plane, piloted by Michael Grove, crashed into a muddy field after the pilot reported missing the initial approach to Columbia County Airport. Just a sad story going around.
With all the plane issues going on in these days, does that make you want to stop like flying at all? Because I don't want to get on a plane now for, I don't know, the next decade and a half.
I mean, planes don't really scare me. Considering the
all
statistics,
crashes. I mean, we had a helicopter
but you know how
fly
many
out of the
planes?
sky the other day in New York.
You know how many planes that fly out every day?
No, fair. But at this point, we didn't have it like this. Like,
I don't think we just didn't have that 24-hour news cycle.
Nah.
But lately, a lot of them have been, up in the front. It's the scare tactics of the news, but it is a sad story. I think we've done over at the Money Wise show. We've done a statistic check on plane crashes against lottery winners, and it's almost damn near the same. Which you can get. I believe Sherrod always says you have a better chance of getting struck by lightning twice.
No, I get that point. I totally understand that it's like playing the lottery, but here's the thing. Playing the lottery still means there's a winner, which means it still means it's happening.
Yeah, it's still going to happen. It's just like car wrecks.
No, I know, but I'm saying that like these are situations that you hope you don't, or that don't happen ever. And it just happens far too often, especially these days. A lot of people are unfortunately losing their lives to some of these issues with planes, or like you get your Boeing 737s with the doors flying off. And it's just, I don't feel like this has been a thing for as long as we're making it sound, but I also make it like it scares me a little bit. You know what I mean? It makes it put you on edge a little bit, especially since a lot of these athletes take airfare to get to these games. You need
multiple times.
And it's scary. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. We could have a Marshall University situation at some point, God forbid. For those of you who don't know what happened there, you can look it up, because I'm not going to look it up. I'm not going to explain it for you. We've already talked about too much death as it is.
Yeah, we're trying to do a motivational Monday.
Exactly.
Not bring you down.
Well, a little motivational, I guess, for you. But the starting quarterback, or rather the former starting quarterback of the University of Tennessee, Nico Amaliva.
I'm a what?
Amaliva. I don't care. I don't care if that's his name. That's how it's spelled. That's how I'm saying it. And if there is any, this has got to be a joke, right? Like, I'm reading this wrong. Nico Amaliva. He's going to leave you. That's what's happening. That's what it is. But at this point, the University of Tennessee is fed up with the quarterback, as he was in NIL disputes with the school and did not show up to practice on Friday. The head coach has come out and said nobody is bigger than the program, says Josh Heupel. And they are moving on from the star freshman quarterback, looking for a new home, as he has told the offensive coordinator the other day that he is filling out his paperwork to enter the portal after all of this goes down. So Nico is leaving you, and where he ends up, God only knows. I know we have a soundbite here that we can get to, where Andy Staples believes is Nico's next home.
Good chance he's taking a pay cut here. And I think maybe UCLA could be in it, but I don't know that USC is interested. People have thrown out Notre Dame. I'm not sure Notre Dame's interested. You know, this is one of those where there are not a lot of obvious landing spots, because everybody who wanted a quarterback got one in December, and everybody paid the quarterbacks they already had. And so there's not really a lot of buyers in the marketplace right now.
Now, Nico was making upwards of $10 million on his contract with Tennessee. That's the whole contract that he had with them, though. So what he was trying to do was just trying to negotiate more money into the contract, about $4 million more, if I read that correctly.
Yeah, I saw something that, when he signed the deal in 2023, it was up to $10 million.
Yeah, exactly.
But it breaks down to $2.2 million in this season. And, after the other changes recently, like Carson Beck reportedly received $4 million from Miami after transferring from Georgia. While the quarterback over at Duke also got $4 million. So he was trying to play the lottery.
Yeah, of course.
You know, if
betting on yourself,
I'm better. You know, I deserve more than 2.2 million.
Which he is. He's a fantastic quarterback. The guy put up 2,000 yards last year, 19 touchdowns. I mean, he looked great. Ran 3 in on the ground as well. The Vols went 10-3 in probably one of their more successful seasons in the SEC in quite some time. Now, whether he gets the money or not that he wants, that's really what's up in the air here. Now, he was dancing around the idea of transferring back in winter. Talked to Oregon. Oregon said they are not interested at all. And I think it's because of a mindset situation, which is why I do agree with Staples that I don't like the USC or Notre Dame picks, because Notre Dame and Oregon both have this moniker that if you don't buy into the program, we don't want you. And it's much like the Vols, and nobody is bigger than the program. And I don't think this would look good on them if they brought in somebody with this kind of an ego. USC has their guy. They're not looking to move on from their quarterback. I think UCLA is the best move, especially since they just picked up a New Mexico star in basketball. So they may be looking to make a splash here in football as well. Does Nico get the money he wants? That's a big question. I'm not 100% sure on that one.
And while I was doing some prep for the show, I didn't know about the transfer window, the rules, what's eligible, what's not. So the spring transfer window opens on April 16th and it'll close on the 25th.
This Wednesday, right?
So the immediately eligible, but Amaliva?
Amaliva is what we're calling him. I don't care if that's not how you pronounce the name. Don't text in. I do not care. This man's name is Nico Amaliva.
So he has to play for a school outside of the SEC, thanks to a conference rule prohibiting players from transferring within the SEC. So he is going to be looking outside of that window. But I don't see him getting the $4 million.
No. I mean, again,
how funny would it be if he gets nothing?
I mean, again, that's a possibility as well. That's the crazy part about this NIL stuff. You could get nothing at all and just say, well, you don't have a football team. But I don't see teams like UCLA passing up on a talent like Nico. He is a fantastic quarterback. It's just you have a ego issue that you're going to have to deal with as well. And are you going to pay him that much money? That's going to be the big question. And this is what the NIL brings to college football now, is that you are essentially competing like the pros do with guys who are college players. So you're going to have to pay these guys what they want if you want them to come play for you.
And it looks like redshirt freshman Jake, I'm not even going to try to say his name, but his position is pretty much to take over as the starting quarterback as a true freshman. George McIntyre is also on the depth chart. However, Tennessee's NIL collective has begun checking on potential transfers. So we'll keep you in the loop if Amaliva gets a job.
God, man, at this point, like, that's got to be the most ironic name in the NIL era, Nico Amaliva. And that's or Amaliva. Either way, I just, oh my God, I love it. Regardless, we had UFC 314 over the weekend. We'll give you a rundown on what happened there, as well as Dana had another successful night out in Miami. This is the early bird special on 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. ESPN Bakersfield, and streaming live on YouTube. think you get me with one a day. One a day that I've never heard in my life. I'm not complaining at all. Cool. Yeah, I haven't dived into a lot of what Tool has done. So
I wasn't a fan until I saw him live, and I was like, okay.
see, that's what I
This
hear.
is different.
Everybody tells me Tool is fantastic live,
They
but
are
like
badass live.
they're kind of like Nickelback. They get a lot of grief for weird reasons. This is
Do not compare Tool.
I'm not
to
comparing them
Nickelback.
in style or skill. I'm just saying they get a lot of grief. Welcome back to the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. And again, not compared before people start chiming in and telling me, I can't believe. I'm not saying they're equal. Nobody is saying Tool is just as good as Nick. No, I'm not even going to end that sentence because that's not what I said.
I would hope.
Good Lord.
Our
No.
show get kicked off the air for that one.
No, all I'm saying is that Tool fans and Nickelback fans both get grief for being fans for stuff they like. It's weird, but it is what it is. Wrestling fans can understand. We can relate at this point. But UFC 314 was over the weekend, live from Kinsea Center in Miami. This was actually a really good card. Surprisingly, I did not have a lot of expectations going into this at all. I was very excited for the main event, which we can get to in a second, but this really had all of, or a little of everything of what you wanted as a UFC fan. So let's start out with what began the entire thing on the main card. Dom Reyes making quick work of Krylor in one round. This was the shock to me. I didn't expect Dom to just plant a perfect counter strike on the temple of Krylor and knock him out. But that was probably one of the best ways to start a UFC fight. I don't know about you guys that are fans like I love when a main card gives you dang near everything, but you get the most exciting stuff right off the bat to really draw you in. That's what you got with this first fight. Is you got the two guys slugging it out. It was a fantastic fight throughout, and then one good shot in the first round by Dom knocks Krylor on his butt, gets the TKO, moves on in a quick matchup. Absolutely just fantastic way to start this entire thing and just pull you in. The second match was Gene Silva absolutely manhandling Bryce Mitchell. This one was a little bit different. This one was a match that really got, I think, technical fans going because Gene absolutely manhandled Mitchell the entire fight, made him look like he didn't belong at all in the same octagon as Silva was, and he was just outclassed. Ended with a absolutely fantastic submission, which was probably a round or two too late. I think Silva could have wrapped this up in the first if he really wanted to, but I genuinely think he was playing with Bryce for a while there, ultimately ending in a submission that was arguably the most vicious ninja choke I've seen him pull off in quite some time. And obviously moved on to the third fight, which in my opinion, this one was the most probably disappointing is the best way to put it. You got Yair Rodriguez taking on Pitbull, who, for those of you who are Bellator fans, Pitbull is probably regarded as the best Bellator fighter, especially the best Bellator fighter to come over to the UFC. He's won, I think it's upwards of 36. I should speak out of turn. Let me look real quick. Pitbull's, 36-8. He's won way more matches than any human being probably ever will in the octagon, but it just looked out of place. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was nerves that Pitbull had playing or fighting on a stage like this, but it just was lackluster, went the whole match, and you didn't really get a lot of excitement out of this one at all, which is the only down point of the entire thing. But it lets you, mid-card matches, let you go and go to the bathroom, get a beer, whatever you want to do to kind of get ready for the next two, because these last two from 314, for those of you who watched, Paddy Pimblett knocking out Chandler in 3 rounds was amazing. Now, for those of you who are fans, I want you guys to chime in because I was watching this fight and I was very curious. I don't know why Chandler has a history of doing this. It does kind of bug me because I am a fan of Chandler's, but he, for some reason, likes to fight to the strength of his opponent. I don't know if it's a psych out thing of maybe he thinks that going in, they're going to think that they have to do something different, but he's going to make it so you go to what you're best at. I really don't know, but what are your guys' thoughts? Because Chandler really just let Pimblett just manhandle him the whole time. Didn't really go to wrestling at all until he really noticed that maybe he can't win this standing up. There was a shot that he threw at Pimblett early that Paddy just absolutely just brushed off. It felt like it was a 12-year-old punching a fully grown man and it just didn't work out at all. And I think that's when you notice Chandler absolutely switch gears and realize, oh, wow, I need to go to my wrestling prowess to pull this off. Didn't work out for him at all. It was way too late. And at that point, Patty just brutally beat him down, knocking him out in the third round in arguably the biggest, I would say, upset of the night, but that's a bad way to put it because Patty's a fantastic fighter. I just think that Chandler walked into this as the favorite, and a lot of people thought he was going to be walking out of the octagon the winner, and Patty just proved everybody wrong. But the finale of it all,
and that was 7-0 now, right?
Yes, I believe
for
so.
Patty, yeah.
And then Alexander Volkanovski showing that he's still the baddest man in the featherweight division, man. The Australian came out and just, I don't want to say manhandled Diego, but he definitely made it look easy. And Lopez being the young gun, they will run this back. This matchup is not done. They will most likely run this back maybe 2-3 times for the belt. It'll be a while before you see it again. But Volkanovski is just a bad, bad man, dude. I don't know how else to put it in the featherweight division. But to rip that belt off that man, you are going to have to come like a bat out of hell to beat the Aussie. I don't know if there's a lot of people in that division that could really keep up at this point. I thought Diego was going to be the best bet to rip it off of him, and we were going to have a new champion headed into today. Did not happen, as they took him the entire fight, and Volkanovski just kept beating him down. I really don't know how else to put it, man. He is solidifying himself as the baddest man in the featherweight division in the UFC. It's crazy.
We had a message that says Lopez came out very aggressive in the in round 5, and I knew he was going to take it in that round.
And and that's where you're right, and that's honestly where it tripped up, was he got too aggressive in the 5th. If he continues to be precise and selective with his strikes, I think you do this a little bit better. But Volkanovski came out absolutely seasoned. You could see the experience on him. He knew where to go, how to throw his punches, and when to throw his punches. And that, I think, is what ultimately led to Diego losing this fight. But like I said, they will run this back. This was a fantastic card. This was a fantastic match. Multiple Brazilians on this card, which I thought was interesting going into the Miami situation. But Dana absolutely killed it again. Your next major matchup will be 315 on May 10th. That'll be Muhammad versus Madalena. I apologize. I always write that down wrong, and I have terrible penmanship. I apologize. But that should be a solid one as well. You'll get a handful of women fighters in that as well in the main card. So I'm excited to see that on May 10th.
Well, we are the early bird special. After this break, we're going to talk a little baseball. What is up with the Dodgers? Those bats are frozen cold. And I haven't even said the word torpedo in probably a week, so it has nothing to do with any of that.
And before you Dodger fans start chiming in and say, oh, of course, Burdick wants to talk about the Dodgers. No.
Blame me.
This was Sparky's idea.
16-0. We'll get into that. Plus, they lost on Sunday Night Baseball last night. Plus, local boy Derek Carr has the shoulder injury that he's still dealing with, and news broke over the weekend that he might not even be ready to play this season.
I feel for him.
We'll get into that and much, much more right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Okay, 2.
I used to play this on the weekend show. Brother Ali,
I am. I'm
young child.
I apologize. I am young and
Well,
I'm a young.
the Cubs, Justin Steele will have elbow surgery out for the season, but that did not slow down the Cubs. After losing to the Dodgers Friday, they came out swinging Saturday with 21 hits on a 16-0 win over the Dodgers. And I had a couple of buddies that went to the Sunday night game as they lost again last night 4-2.
Well, I had family who went to the Saturday game, so
Oh, ouch.
diehard Dodger fans ended up watching that one. My nephew had to watch the Dodgers lose 16-0. I felt so bad. I felt so bad. I'm like, no, not the day of my nephew's. Come on, man, show up. Like, do something. Shohei,
Are those
poking him with a
bats-
stick. Do
is that
something.
Bats just frozen or what?
You know what? I've heard this from multiple Dodger fans for the last couple of weeks that the pitching has really been the reason that they started out so hot. I definitely agree with them, although you do have the star power still. But yes, there are a handful of guys on the Dodger roster that are just struggling to hit right now. Will that continue throughout the season? I doubt it, although guys like Max Muncy and Chris Taylor have showed you otherwise in the past seasons. So personally, I think it's time to move on from guys like Max. I think that although he is a power threat for you, I think you can get a better player. I really do, especially for third base. And as much as I love Kike Hernandez, another guy, 114 on the season. Really? Really? Like,
does he need to order some torpedo bats?
I guess. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, what do you got to do? Freddie Freeman made his return yesterday as well on a pinch hit, which was great to see. But you got Rojas, Kike, and Muncy ending your rotation there, all in the ones. That can't happen. I'm sorry. Like, that's not me taking a slide at the Dodgers. There's plenty of teams that are like this, but this is now multiple seasons that I've seen Max Muncy specifically in the ones. How is this a possibility that you continue to keep him on your roster? I don't get it. I really don't get it. But it is what it is, man.
It's still early. There's still 1,000 games left in the season, so we'll have plenty to talk about. But moving over to the NFL, local boy Derek Carr came out over the weekend, and his shoulder injury that could put him out for the 2025 season. And the Saints are scheduled to begin their off-season training program today. And obviously Carr will not be in attendance. Looking at the quarterback room as we speak, they have Hainer, Rattler, and Ben DiNucci.
I forgot Spencer Rattler's on that team. Now,
I'm going to ask you because, one, we've been talking a lot about the draft, which we'll continue to talk about it since it's only a week from Thursday.
And afterwards, too, because it'll be all the talking points in the world from the NFL.
But does this push the Saints into drafting a quarterback, or do they look at the other options of maybe trading for somebody like Kirk Cousins or getting in the mix with the headache of what is Aaron Rodgers?
I have not heard any movement on them wanting to trade for Kirk Cousins, so I'm going to stomp that one out right now. But there is options, obviously, in this draft, multiple options in the second and third round. I wouldn't be surprised to see them try to pick up a quarterback in the draft. Whether they do it with their first round pick at number 9 is where I draw the line. I'm not sure they do. I know a lot of people have said Shador would fit for them. I don't think he will, especially scheme-wise. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, people forget that the Saints have a new coach, and that is Kellen Moore, which is an offensive-minded, quarterback-friendly type offense.
True, but again, the offensive line has struggled, and unless you want essentially what you got at Colorado, you're not going to benefit him at all from drafting him. I think the Saints benefit more from picking up some offensive line help first and maybe going with their guy Spencer Rattler. They liked him last year. He started a couple games for him. Now, he didn't look great, but again, they didn't look great as a team. So it really shouldn't, it shouldn't show bad on Rattler's skills that your team did not produce for him.
Yeah, and that was later in the season when they had an interim coach, and this will be a different type of vibe.
Right.
I'm thinking with Kellen Moore, who's had success wherever he's gone. But when you find out your number one quarterback is out, a week or actually, a couple days before camp opens, it kind of makes you scratch your head. And I want to go to Graziano real quick
No, go
because
for it.
I want to see what he thinks this puts on the Saints' back.
If the Saints like Shedeur Sanders as their franchise quarterback of the future, then they should have been taking him anyway, like regardless of any Derek Carr injury news. So that's the question. Do they now force a pick at number 9 overall because Carr is a question mark? I would say probably not. They should probably be approaching it the same way they would have anyway. And then the mission is to get Carr to come play for them and then, maybe use the 9 pick to make yourself a better team, give him a better chance to succeed this year.
Now, that's true, but at this point, I think you move on from Derek Carr and the Saints. I don't think it's worked, and I think they're kind of giving up on the entire project that they were building there, unless Kellen decides and convinces them to keep him because he is a seasoned veteran quarterback.
Well, I know they restructured that contract because he had 2 or 3 years left, and they restructured it so they can get out of this contract after this season.
Now, my main question here, because we've been talking about Shedeur going to the Saints. Does this not open another possible location for Aaron Rodgers? Because at this point, the only team that's fishing for Aaron Rodgers is the Pittsburgh Steelers. But now that the Saints are out of quarterback, maybe they don't want to draft a guy. Maybe they want to go pick up a guy. And sitting with $27 million of cap space.
Yeah.
Now, it's not exactly what Aaron would do, but say Aaron's out of options. Say Pittsburgh doesn't want Aaron. And he really only has one option, which is the New Orleans Saints. Aaron could take a potential $25 million deal for 1 year to come play for the Saints.
I mean, I could see him with Kellen Moore working out
Absolutely.
a lot better, but
I think that the Saints would be better off drafting a wide receiver in the first round because they have lacked a good number 1 wide receiver since Michael Thomas.
Yeah, for years.
So I think you draft a number 1 wide receiver at number 9. Go pick up a guy maybe in the second or third round, or just pass on it altogether, stick with Spencer Rattler, or potentially make a move for Aaron Rodgers.
I could see it.
It makes a lot more sense that way, in my opinion.
Well, we'll keep an eye out. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more coming from camp today. The Bears over the weekend also brought in or re-signed cornerback Kyle Gordon for a 3-year, $40 million extension.
Fantastic extension for him.
Yes, and he is now the NFL's highest paid slot corner, which will be for a couple days until the next guy signs.
Which arguably, I'm going to bring this up to you. Is that the most important corner now in the NFL? I say yes.
It is important.
I'd say
Definitely.
it's the most important, though, because compared to how often they throw to the sidelines nowadays, usually the ball goes to the speedy guy in the middle.
Yeah, and usually
Cooper Kupps.
You get the top 2 receivers, and you use your slide guy into the
Devontae
slants.
prefers being in the slot sometimes. That's what I'm saying. I think that at this point, your slot corner might be the most important corner or secondary member, really, on the team.
Up there with the safeties, definitely.
Yeah, I think you have to start considering that as its own position, which is going to warrant more money for a lot of these guys because it's a specialized position.
And while we're on the NFL, I didn't think we are going to have time for it, but I wanted to hear. I was strolling through some podcasts over the weekend. And I heard the question come up as who is the NFL's most hated player? And I heard this from Mark Ingram.
I like that. I like that.
Tua.
He does get hate.
A lot of hate
Yeah.
for no reason.
You're an Alabama guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's when he's healthy, the Dolphins are a dangerous team.
Man,
They're a dangerous team.
Yeah.
And people always got something to say about Tua. I'm like, Tua's a beast. Like
100%. Everywhere I go, whether if you catch me, I'm guarantee I'm wearing either Dolphin socks or I've got my Dolphin hat on. 366 days out of the year, you're going to see me in Dolphin gear. And not one day doesn't go by that I'm not hearing, is Tua going to be healthy this year?
Well,
hey, is Tua going to get hurt again?
Okay, but here I argue this just to be devil's advocate.
That's
okay?
fine.
You did it to yourselves. And here's why. Tank for Tua. Does that remind anybody of anything? How big that moniker was for a long time? Tank for Trevor was just as big too, Jacksonville fans, if there are any. So I get it.
Just like Tank for Arch now, and they don't even know if he's going to come out of the draft.
Oh, absolutely. But at this point, I think most of the hate comes because no one wants to see a man die on the football field.
See, I hear that daily.
We don't want to see it, man. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell Dolphin fans. It's not that we hate the guy.
We don't hear about Hamlin and who actually did die on the field.
True.
And this guy comes back and has honestly, a successful career since then.
If you go back to our YouTube videos from a year ago when that entire situation happened, you can hear me say, I said out loud Damar Hamlin should not be playing football.
Yeah, and he's came back and he's won the comeback award. And
yes, and it's not because he can't play football. It's more of, why are you on the field, dude? You almost died.
Yes.
Like, it's okay to walk away sometimes. Like, don't get me wrong. I know football is people's lives, and I get that, but I should respect him more for it. Realistically, we all should respect him more for it. But I thought that was wild. The fact that he saw the field again of his own fruition,
yes,
was what was wild about that.
And it's just funny because, you know, they always circle around that same thing, and hopefully he comes back and, you know, plays more than 11 games. Because the coaches don't look like they have a backup plan.
I argue, though, that he's not the most hated player in the NFL. I mean, again, he's hated on.
Since Brady's retired, I don't hear any more hate from a lot of other players.
I mean, Patrick gets a lot of hate.
Yeah.
But again, that's hating on greatness. Much like
I hear
Tom.
the same thing with Travis Kelce.
Yeah, but again, hating on greatness. It's easy to hate on the people who are winning. Exactly, the Swiftie hate too. That's another good point. But I don't know. I feel like Dak Prescott gets a lot of heat, especially for the way he plays.
I think it's just a Cowboys quarterback. It comes with the contract.
I have to agree with you there because I've said that last week. I feel like the only reason people hated Tony Romo was because he was the Cowboys quarterback. If he played for any other team, I don't think people would have hated Tony Romo like they hate Tony Romo.
Of course.
And I think
he can move on and be a great announcer, and they still hate him.
Well, and that's the thing though. They don't hate him anymore because he's an announcer.
I've heard so many people. Oh, it's a Romo game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I hear more people
I heard
saying
the same
Romo.
thing with
Heck
Aikman
yeah.
when Aikman was doing it.
No, I hate that. That's the thing. I hear more people saying that they like Romo, but again, maybe it's just who you talk to. But I think that Romo gets most of the hate because he was a Cowboys quarterback.
Yep, 100%.
So, like, for Tua, I stand by the statement of, one, you guys did it to yourself by overhyping the kid when you tanked for Tua, and two, no one wants to see a man die on the field.
No one
because
wants to see a man die on the field.
We also know, though, that that's going to hurt football.
Yes, and the number one thing is that they did it to themselves. It's not that they tanked for him. It's because they didn't build a damn offensive line for him. You could do that with any quarterback.
True.
But we're not going to get into football because we're going to wrap up on some positive news this week. First of all, congratulations to Art. He won the pair of tickets to the Mac and Cheese Fest. We'll be giving away tickets all week. We won't make it as easy. Tomorrow is Trivia Tuesday. So we will have a trivia question and you'll have another chance to win a pair of Mac and Cheese tickets.
And y'all still haven't gotten any of these right.
No.
I just want to point that out.
0 for 2.
Are 0 for 2. What's going on here, man? You guys have Google on your side too, and no one's got it right.
And I took the bullet over the weekend. We'll come back. We'll wrap up. I'll tell you how bad or good Minecraft was. Plus, we got a Raw preview, the last Raw before WrestleMania this weekend, coming up right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Sorry. Yes, sir. This is the early bird special. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. And real quick, Mark, before we get to your comments on the Minecraft movie, we have some breaking news out of the sports world. The New Orleans Pelicans have moved on from Executive Vice President David Griffin after 6 seasons, after missing yet another playoffs. This is the man who is not the essential person, but is one of the mainstays of the reason why they traded away Anthony Davis and drafted Zion Williamson. David also has a past working for the Cleveland Cavaliers back in the days of LeBron James and all of that. I believe he was the general manager back in those days. As well, in the world of baseball, the Yankees star Aaron Judge has been named the captain of the U.S. team for the 2026 Baseball Classic as the U.S. looks to go back and finally grab the world title for baseball again, led by the Yankees slugger. And honestly, if we put the right team together this year, I think we could pull it off. I think they could pull it off.
I would hope so.
It's going to be a great World Baseball Classic in 2026. Hopefully, we will be able to cover it for you. But Sparky, you saw arguably one of the most polarizing movies of the last couple months, Minecraft, which personally, when they announced this, along with a lot of these other movies coming out, like the board game movies and stuff, I had to say,
I'm out.
Why?
Yeah.
I think there's a Tetris movie coming out now.
I know
if it's
there's
not
a
out
Monopoly
already.
one.
Monopoly's coming. I don't
with
get it.
with the chick from Barbie.
I really don't get it.
I don't either. They are needing writers.
Yeah.
Obviously, because I went into this movie thinking the worst. So I didn't go in thinking, oh, I'm going to watch the best movie of the year. And that helped a whole lot. And what kind of sucked is I had tickets to go with my son Friday. We went down to a local theater, but the 3D, the theater was broke. So we didn't get to go Friday. So I rescheduled and I was like, oh, okay, we'll make a day out of it. We went on Saturday and we saw it in 3D downtown. And I would say it's a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
It's not as bad. I mean, I had 3 or 4 friends that went with their kids and told me that was the worst movie. So I was thinking, okay, it's going to be really bad.
I know have been saying this movie is terrible.
I would say 5 out of 10. There was funny parts. My gripe about it was the Jennifer Coolidge. I cannot stand that lady. Her voice just is like chalk. You're just fingernails on a chalkboard.
God, I wish I could do an impression of Jennifer Coolidge right now.
My son does, and I want to slap the hell out of him for it too. But she makes 4 or 5 scenes. She's a vice principal.
Come on, man, that's Stifler's mom.
But Jack Black, I mean, I almost had I would say it was like the poor man's Jumanji.
Really?
It almost felt like a couple of scenes were ripped from Jumanji. And with the Jack Black, the same character almost.
Now, did he get a singing part in this?
Oh, there was singing all over it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say, most of his movies now are going to have some sort of musical act, I would assume, especially after how popular the Bowser song went with the Mario movie.
Of course. And every time I hear anything about Peaches, the song goes on. But I would say 5 out of 10. I wouldn't probably watch it again.
Now, did you have the situation that a lot of the internet has been talking about, which is all the kids going nuts when that character comes in? I don't even know what this is all about. I wish I had a kid here to explain this to us.
I had a few people text me that text in and yelled the chant, but I had no idea what.
I have no idea what.
I watched the news and I saw a couple reels on Instagram over the last few days that were talking about, it's going to get crazy. It's going to get crazy in certain
parts. All I hear.
And it wasn't. I mean, the theater was full, which is surprising since it's going on week 2.
Well, and I think that's why you don't get a lot of it anymore, because of how much trouble these kids got into it in the first week. Because this was happening. There were videos of kids just going absolutely bonkers.
It happened here in town. I have a friend that manages one of our local theaters, and she told me that she had to pause the movie and turn on the lights like a parent and go in there and tell him, either act right or I'm turning off the movie and y'all could go home.
Yeah, without being refunded at all. Because I've seen situations where multiple families had to be refunded just because of how crazy teenagers are acting during this movie. I just assumed it was going to be like every other video game movie and it was going to suck. Unfortunately, as a
5 out of 10,
gamer,
it kind of sucked.
Honestly, that's what I'm saying. Like, as a gamer, it has been very difficult to watch a lot of these video games get made into movies because I know they're not going to be made well, or they're just going to get torn apart by people like, critics and stuff like that who know more than I.
Well, I'll definitely
But,
say it was better than what I was expecting, which was very low.
you know what? And I have high expectations, though, I should say, because there is a video game movie coming out this weekend that I'm excited to go see, the Until Dawn movie, which is based on the video game.
Looks awesome.
It's a horror movie. It is, I guess, the entire idea is these campers go into this cabin and they have to live out a whole night in a horror movie without dying. If they die, the night restarts, and it's a whole different horror movie every single time it restarts. So it's a very interesting concept, in my opinion. I like the idea that every time they restart, it's something different. You're not dealing with the same thing every single time. And if you're a fan of the Dark Picture Anthology series video games, a lot of them are kind of like that, where it's based on how you what you do in the game is essentially if you survive or not. So
Well, my favorite part was the previews.
Of course.
And the movie with Michael B. Jordan coming out, Sinners.
Sinners looks fantastic.
Looks awesome. So I'm definitely going to have to see that.
That looks really good with Haley Steinfeld, the soon-to-be wife of Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen.
Gross.
Fantastic couple. Fantastic. Also is a fantastic superhero in her own right as Kate Bishop, but she's a great actress.
Well, tonight is the last night of Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania.
Yes. And it'll be live from Sacramento, California. So if you bought tickets or can get up to Sacramento, go for it. I wish you well. We are very excited for when they come here to Bakersfield in June, right before Money in the Bank happens in LA. However, the only two things that are really mentioned in today's on the message boards until GM Adam Pearce eventually announces it on Instagram, probably around noon. You will hear from the tribal chief Roman Reigns. We acknowledge. He will be talking about the entire situation with Paul Heyman and CM Punk and the fact that he will not have his wise man in his corner. Again, I don't think this is going to be that big of a deal. I think this is going to be a build up to a great ending to a triple threat that really shouldn't have happened at all in the first place.
With Seth Rollins walking out with Heyman.
That's what the internet keeps saying.
saying.
So we'll see how this ends. Again, this is all just, sports, novelas, telenovelas for those of you who are wondering why we talk about this on a weekly basis. You will hear from 24KG tomorrow and potentially on Friday, right before WrestleMania weekend.
So it seems like the fight card for WrestleMania is pretty booked.
It is. It is set pretty much in stone as it sits right now. Saturday and Sundays were announced, I believe, on last Friday's SmackDown.
But the last one I saw from the WWE was it had Randy Orton and it had question mark.
Right. So that they're still hanging on to the possibility that there is a match there. Whether that happens or not, I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to see. I think that they're lingering maybe a special appearance. Maybe they'll get one of the old legends to come in for one last match, as they have been known to do in the past. I thought they were going to lean more towards 5 matches a night. Looks like we're getting more to 7 matches a night, which would be really fun to see, with obviously all the fun promos and stuff in between. But Vegas is stacked, and at this point, it's just going to be fantastic matches upon fantastic matches.
Yeah, I saw the comments from Tom Brady over the weekend. Said he'll be there, that he's super excited on all the things that are going on with WWE, and plus it's in Vegas, so why wouldn't
Who
he?
isn't excited about it, man? I mean, again, I think you're going to get a Stone Cold Steve Austin appearance in this as well, because remember, last time Stone Cold was asked about this, he said he would not return unless the show was in Nevada.
Oh, that's right. He's got his ranch out there.
That's where he lives. That's where he partakes. And guess
Yeah.
who's in the central part of these storylines right now? His longtime rival, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So
Yeah,
I
that would
think
be
at
dope.
some point, Stone Cold might make an appearance to come down and save Cody Rhodes, or essentially just get one last stunner on
Cena.
Well, and the best man to ever probably take a stunner, which is The Rock. I stand by that statement. Nobody took a stunner like The Rock did.
Exactly. He took several of them. So.
Absolutely. And at this point right now, that's all we got for you on this Motivation Monday. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Join us back here tomorrow for Trivia Tuesday on the Early Bird Special right here on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield, and streaming live on YouTube. Sparky, let's get out of here.